Hello, hello all, hello all. Welcome in webinar. Hello, welcome in this webinar. We will start in couple of minutes. We are waiting for others to join. Hello Celia, welcome in this webinar. Hello Dhananjay, hello Salendra, welcome in this webinar. Hello Salman, hello Santi, welcome in this webinar. We are waiting for a couple of minutes for others to join. Meanwhile, I would like to update you all that every Saturday we conduct webinars on various topics of IBS. So please register and join the webinar on every Saturday. I'm a nutritionist in IBS Daily Bloom program and we will start shortly. We are waiting for others to join. Am I audible? Am I audible to all? You can write yes or no in the chat box. Hello, am I audible? Good, thank you. Thank you for response. Hello, is the volume up now? Is it is it clear now? Okay, thank you so much. We will start in couple of minutes. Hello all. Hello Anil ji, welcome in this webinar. Hello Kasturi ji, welcome in this webinar. We will start shortly. We are waiting for others to join. In couple of minutes, we are going to start. This webinar is all about IBS management, and today we are going to start it in 5-10 minutes, not 10 minutes, in 5 minutes only, because we are waiting for others to join. We do webinar on IBS issues on every Saturday, so please don't forget to register and join on every Saturday. Our psychologists also do webinars and nutritionists also do webinars on every Saturday. So please make a register of that, and please try to join on Saturday, every Saturday, webinars related to IBS. In 2-3 minutes, we are going to start. At the end of the webinar, I will invite you all for the questions and answers regarding to this webinar, and I will be happy to solve all the queries related to this webinar. If any of you have any questions, you can ask it here only till the time we are waiting for others to join. Hello Arvind ji, welcome in this webinar. Hello Buha. In 1 and 2 minutes we are going to start this webinar. Am I audible to all? Okay, thank you. Thank you for response. Okay. Okay, so now we are going to start. So before starting this webinar, I would like to present myself. Who am I? See, I am a nutritionist, Suchitra Tiwari. I am working as a lead coach nutritionist in Daily Bloom IBS team. So today I am here to present webinar on dysbiosis. So what is dysbiosis and what is the impact of dysbiosis on our health, on gut health? So we are going to discuss about that in this webinar. Okay, so what we are going to cover in this webinar? I am going to cover the following topics here. First is introduction to dysbiosis. Second is factors contributing to dysbiosis. Third is diagnostic approaches of dysbiosis and treatment of dysbiosis. Practical tips for preventing dysbiosis. So these are the topics we are going in this webinar. Am I audible? Please type yes if I am audible to all. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so these are the topics we are going to cover in this webinar. Okay, so before we proceed ahead, I would like to know how many of you know this term dysbiosis. So my first quiz is all about this term dysbiosis. So I would like to know what is dysbiosis. So first point here is an overgrowth of beneficial bacteria in the gut. Second option, a lack of bacteria in the gut. Third is an imbalance of gut microbiome. And fourth is an overgrowth of yeast in the gut. So please write your answer in the chat box. I would like to know the answer. Oh, okay, I am getting some answer here. Okay. So yes, right answer. I'm getting many right answers. So answer is C. Yeah, correct. The an imbalance of gut microbiome is the correct answer. So we can proceed ahead. And here is the explanation. So as I asked the question in the previous slide, what is dysbiosis? So dysbiosis is an imbalance of gut microbiome. We all know that there are various microbiome present in our gut. It can be good microbiome, it can be bad microbiome, but both the things actually present in our gut in a equilibrium state. So because of some factors, sometimes it happens, there is equilibrium get disrupted. Because of that, dysbiosis happens. So in this slide, you all can see that how our gut looks like when it is balanced. Balanced means when there is gut microbiota present in a balanced form. So how it looks like. And in this another picture, you can see how gut microbiome when it is not in balanced form. When it is in balanced form, how it looks like. So you can see the clear difference between both the pictures. Okay, so we can proceed ahead. Here, as I mentioned in the previous slide when I was explaining about the dysbiosis, what is dysbiosis? So I mentioned there that because of various factors, sometimes that equilibrium get disrupted. So here in this slide, I'm going to explain about the factors which can disrupt the gut microbiome flora. So first factor is stress. So what is stress? We all know that stress is very big and major thing which can lead to dysbiosis. So it can be stress can be in form of exercise, in metabolic and psychological. It can be of any type. So suppose if we exercise a lot, so in that case also stress hormone releases, that is cortisol. So it will also lead to dysbiosis. And when a person is very distressed, very like depressed, and in stress form, in that case also dysbiosis happens. So the second factor which influence dysbiosis is diet. So we all know that if we eat a lot of junk processed food, definitely it will lead to dysbiosis. Pharmaceutical is the another factor. When it is seen that when a person is taking medication for longer period of time, So he or she may get dysbiosis because that will interrupt the microbiota flora in the gut. So pharmaceutical is also a major cause here. Now the next factor is geography. How geography can impact. See, we know that when geography changes, weather, dietary habits, eating pattern, everything changes. So suppose if a person is shifting from Asian country to European countries or in Americas, any place. So he or that they might get some disruption in their microbiota, and initially they might get dysbiosis. So geography is also a factor here. Now the next factor is lifestyle stages. How lifestyle stages impact dysbiosis? As we grow older, so our activity also reduces. Our physical activity also reduces. So it will lead to decrease in the biodiversity of microbiota. So finally, it will lead to dysbiosis. Now the next factor is birthing process. So we all know that if a baby born by C-section, he will definitely will have low amount of good microbiota in his gut, and it can be like low number of lactobacillus, bifidobacterium, and same thing happen with the babies who are not breastfeed. Okay, so in later part of life, these babies might get gut related issues. So moving forward, another quiz time. Which of the following is a common cause of dysbiosis? First option is excessive antibiotic usage and unhealthy lifestyle. Second is balanced diet. Third is regular exercise. And fourth is proper hydration. So please write your answer in the chat box. Please write your answer in the chat box. Am I audible to all? Hello. I'm getting some answers here. Okay. So the correct answer is which of the following is a common cause of dysbiosis? So excessive antibiotic usage and unhealthy lifestyle. Okay. So moving forward, here is the another slide which is going to capture the point diagnostic approaches of dysbiosis. Okay, so when we talk about the diagnostic approaches of dysbiosis, the first point here is clinical evaluation. So clinical evaluation, it covers the first thing is symptom assessment. So when a person comes to us, so first thing we observe in the patient is their symptom assessment. We do that is symptom assessment, which include bloating, diarrhea, constipation, abdominal pain, and food intolerance. We try to find out what is the severity of these symptoms. The second part we discuss about medical history. If a person has any medical history, like any underlying causes of previous diseases like diabetes, thyroid, PCOD, fatty liver, so we try to find out what are the underlying causes of the underlying causes for this dysbiosis, and if the person is having medication for longer period of time or not. So we try to find out this also in clinical evaluation part. The second point is stool testing. So in stool testing, there are 2 points we are going to cover. First is microbial analysis and second is metabolite analysis. So in microbial analysis, we try to find out the types of microbiome and the amount of microbiome present in the gut. Suppose if a person is having good type of bacteria, suppose lactobacillus and bifidobacterium, these are the good bacteria. If this type of bacteria is present in our gut in the major quantity, large quantity, definitely the gut health of that person will be good. So in the second point, metabolite analysis, we will discuss about the byproducts produced by the gut bacteria. Our gut bacteria has tendency to produce some byproducts during the bacterial fermentation. So these byproducts are short chain fatty acid, vitamin B12, vitamin K, folate. So these types of metabolites we try to find out what are the level of the metabolites in the stool. So these two parts we cover in the stool testing process. Moving forward, the next diagnostic approach is blood test. So when a person is having dysbiosis, that is definitely is prominent for them that inflammation will be there with the person. So how we can test inflammation in the body? Through the blood test we can test. So the factors are CRP test and ESR test. These tests are the inflammatory markers which will show what are the inflammation rate in the body. So we try to find out the blood that CRP and ESR value through the blood test. And another point is nutrient deficiency. So I think I need to let you know first that our microbiota are responsible for producing many healthy vitamins which are very much important for our body, like vitamin B12, vitamin K. So when there is problem with our gut, definitely the person will be having deficiency in vitamin B12 and vitamin K, folate. So we through blood tests we try to find out what are the level of deficiency with the patient. Another test is breath test. So as I already mentioned in the previous slide that our microbiome has tendency to produce byproducts. So some gaseous byproducts are also there. These are hydrogen and methane. So through breath test, we try to find out what are the level of hydrogen and methane which are produced by microbiome during the bacterial fermentation. Okay. Moving forward, the next topic is treatment of dysbiosis. So in this slide, we are going to cover the treatment methods. So first is dietary intervention, second is lifestyle modification, third one is medication, and fourth one is emerging trend therapies. So another quiz time here for all. What dietary change is often recommended to help manage dysbiosis? So I need answer in the chat box. So the first option is increase in processed foods. The second point is increase in fiber intake. Third is decrease in fruit and vegetables. Fourth is increase in sugar consumption. So please write your answer in the chat box. Okay, I can see some answer. Good. Yeah, I can see some answer. Okay. Yeah, the correct answer is increase in fiber intake. So moving forward, first we will cover dietary intervention. So in this dietary intervention treatment technique, first thing is low FODMAP diet. So we generally recommend low FODMAP diet to all the IBS related issues. So what is low FODMAP diet? Actually, in the previous webinar, we have already captured this topic a lot about the FODMAP diet, but I would like to summarize a little bit about FODMAP. What is FODMAP here? Let me explain this first. FODMAP means it is a fermentable, it is a technical word, comes for, I can give the full form of that one, that is fermentable oligosaccharide, disaccharide, monosaccharide, and polyols. This is a technical term. It is a short chain carbohydrate, which are which are not very gut friendly, because whatever food items having high FODMAP content, it is very difficult for our stomach and small intestine to digest it properly. So it will not be digested properly in our gut, like stomach and small intestine, and it will directly go to large intestine where the bacteria start fermenting the product, and that is the root cause for bloating, gas, and all the stomach related issues. So in this phase, we work on three phases. You can see in the slide here low FODMAP diet phases. So in the first phase, we eliminate all the food items which are very high in FODMAP from your diet. And in the second phase, we reintroduce again the high FODMAP diet, high FODMAP food content in your diet in a controlled quantity. And in the third phase, based on the findings of first phase and second phase, we provide you the customized diet plan that can be sustainable for you. So this is all about low FODMAP diet concept. Now come to the second point, which is fiber supplement. So in the severe cases of IBS where severe constipation is related, their doctor generally prescribe fiber supplement to heal the problem. Okay, so now the another point which comes under dietary intervention is prebiotic and probiotic. So prebiotic is the food for probiotic, and what is probiotic? Probiotic is the microbiome I am talking about here. So in the case, the main concept of giving prebiotic and probiotic to restore the gut flora only. Okay, so next point here is lifestyle modification. So in this method of treatment, we generally focus on stress management. We all know that there is direct connection between our gut and brain. So when a person is stressed and tense, definitely his gut will not be okay. So you all can see in this picture that here some techniques are given, like you can play with your pet and exercise. These all techniques can help you to relieve the stress. And when you are stress free, definitely your gut will be okay. So first point here is stress management that we have just covered now. Second thing is regular exercise. By doing regular exercise, definitely the biodiversity of your gut microbiome will increase, and that will definitely lead to control to your dysbiosis, and it will help to heal gut symptoms related IBS. Third point is adequate sleep. So our microbiome, they generally follow circadian pattern, circadian rhythm. So when there is poor sleep and disturbed sleep, definitely it will break the circadian rhythm, and it will lead to dysbiosis. Now come to the point medication. There are medications which are also prescribed by doctor in case of severity. So in the medication it comes antibiotics and antimicrobials. So generally antibiotics and antimicrobial has tendency to disrupt the gut flora of microbiome in our gut. So prevent that problem, doctor generally prescribe probiotic and prebiotic along with antibiotics and antimicrobial. And when we come to the point antidepressant medication, it is generally prescribed by doctor in that case where mental health related to IBS. Okay. Now the other point is emerging therapies. So in emerging therapies, we will talk about fecal microbiota transplantation. So what is this fecal microbiota transplantation, FMT? It is the therapy which is being famous nowadays, because what happens in this therapy, the the healthy sample of stool is collected from the healthy donor, and it is transplanted to the patient. So where when the patient get the healthy stool in their gut, definitely the gut flora will be restored. So this therapy can be done through colonoscopy, through enema, and sometimes tablets are also prescribed. Okay, so another quiz time. What is potential consequences of long-term dysbiosis? So the first option here is improved immune function. Second one is chronic inflammation. Third one is increased nutrient absorption, sorry. And the fourth one is weight loss. So please write your answer in the chat box. Yes, I'm getting some answers here. Good. Okay. So the right answer is, let me tell you the right answer here. The what is the potential consequences of long-term dysbiosis is chronic inflammation. Okay. So moving forward, here is the some preventive tips how we can prevent dysbiosis. So here are the some practical tips. So first is we have to eat plenty of fiber rich foods like fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts. Another point is always try to have fermented foods, because it contains beneficial bacteria and it will restore the beneficial bacteria in your gut. Third point, we have to avoid processed foods and sugary items as much as possible. Another point is we have to stay hydrated by drinking a lot of water throughout the day. Another point is include prebiotic rich foods, because as I already mentioned in the previous slide that prebiotics are the food for probiotics. So we should include prebiotic rich foods in our daily diet. Next point is we have to choose healthy fats. Why healthy fats? Because here are the examples like avocados, fatty fish, nuts, and seeds. We have to choose healthy fats on daily basis because healthy fats contains omega-3 fatty acids. So it is very good for our gut health. Next point is we have to limit alcohol intake if anybody is having alcohol on a daily basis. Now, the practical mindful eating is always advisable to everyone, and we have listened to our body and listen to our body signal, what it is saying. If it is saying that our stomach is full, we have to stop eating there. So, these are the practical tips we have to follow to improve our gut health. So in this slide, I would like to update you about our Daily Bloom IBS program. So this program is 14-week program. So during this 14-week journey, we provide nutritional support as well as psychologist support to our patients. And along with this support, we provide resources like yoga videos, articles, and symptom tracking resources also. So at last, I will wrap my this webinar by saying this wonderful line that take care of your gut and it will take care of you. Thank you so much. So now I am ready to take the questions here. Yeah, the question is, does whey protein cause dysbiosis? Yeah, high protein content definitely cause dysbiosis because protein takes a lot of time to digest. So definitely undigested protein when the body is in that level where it can't digest lot of protein amount, then definitely it will lead to dysbiosis. IBS, another question is IBS is curable or manageable? Yeah. IBS is not 100% curable, yeah, but it can be manageable very nicely by following all the tips which I have mentioned in my previous slide. Thank you. Any other questions? I would be happy to help. I would be happy to solve all the questions. If there is no more questions, we are going to end this session now. Thank you all to IBS. If I go to dental, wait, one question is here. Through IBS, if I go to dental, yeah, definitely you can go to dental. Yeah, but oral health is also a important part which play important role in dysbiosis because our mouth has also a good quality of bacteria. So we have to take care of our oral health also. If you take a lot of that mouthwash and all, definitely it will kill the oral bacteria and finally it will lead to dysbiosis also. So definitely if you have oral problem, dental problem, then you can definitely go and check with your dentist. Right time to take probiotics? Yeah, it can be advised by your doctor only. It depends person to person. If they give antibiotic, wait, one question is here. If they give antibiotics, again it will trigger. See, when the effect of antibiotics will be there, it won't trigger. But after when the effectiveness of antibiotic will reduce, definitely the trigger it will again trigger. So medication and antibiotics is not the final verdict here. Like we can't say that it will control finally. We have to manage our IBS through only dietary modifications. Okay, so I think Wait, one more question is here. Okay, what all prebiotic foods? Oh, okay. So all prebiotic foods are, as I already mentioned in the previous slide, that prebiotics are the food for probiotics. So if we eat a lot of fiber-rich food like vegetable, fruits, salads, sprouts, all these are the prebiotic for probiotic food. Okay, okay. So I think there is no more questions. So by this, I'm wait. Time takes to heal from this. How much time gut takes to heal from dysbiosis? It depends on the severity of the dysbiosis. If severity of the dysbiosis is in moderate condition, definitely it will take not much time. But if the case is very severe, if it is moderate, then it will heal in the less time. But if the severity is much, then it will take a lot of time. Another question is, IBS is effectively managed. Can we prevent recurrence? Yeah, it can be effectively managed, and we can also prevent recurrence definitely by proper exercise pattern, by proper dietary modification. We can definitely manage it for longer time. Okay, so I think there is no more question. By this, I would like to thank you all for joining this wonderful session. Okay, and have a nice day to all. And I'm going to wrap this here, complete this webinar here. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone.